Most of the start school,
You're being recorded now, so you're good to go.
so I can't say all the things that
You need to stop.
All right, so I wanted to give you a really quick reminder as school's getting ready to start back, at your impact as a leader, as a Renaissance leader, okay? You can, and I don't know where my slide went. My technical assistance crew made it disappear, but you can be, and you probably heard this, this wonderful little analogy of being the difference between a thermostat and a thermometer. Does anybody, what's the difference between the two? What does a thermometer do? I mean,
Registers the temperature.
okay, it checks the temperature, right? So a thermometer doesn't do anything else other than just check the temperature. If you've ever had a sick kid, what do? It just checks the temperature. A thermometer cannot lower the temperature. I mean, I've had sick kids, we've all probably had sick kids. I have willed that thermometer to be like, oh, no, please say it's not 103. We all had those nights, right? Where you have to put that thermometer in your child's mouth thinking, please make it go down. Please say it's not 103. That's terrifying as a parent, right? But what does a thermostat do?
Control.
If you all start freezing in this room today, what am I going to do? If you're starting to freeze, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to adjust the thermostat, right? Or to the other extreme, if it's burning up hot in here, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to adjust the thermostat and adjust the temperature to the other extreme, right? So my challenge to each of you is I want you to be a thermostat this year in your school buildings, okay? Here's why. You're going to walk into that building this year and you're going to know those people that are thermometers. They're going to come in with a preconceived notion and they're going to say, same old. These kids are wild and crazy and cold, the parents just, and their attitude is going to be what it is. And there's no changing them. They're thermometers, right? And we all know the thermometers in your building. But you can be a thermostat. You can be the one that helps to regulate the climate in your building. And I'm going to give you an example of a wonderful, wonderful singer who changed the course of everything we know in history. And you're probably thinking, what? So if you'll hit the next slide for me, Gabby. Has anybody ever heard of Mahalia Jackson? What's one of the most famous speeches that you know in history? I have a dream. Let me tell you a little bit about August 28, 1963. You all know I lead the history group here at KUC, one of them. Mahalia Jackson, she is a wonderful legendary gospel singer. And if you ever saw Martin Luther King Jr., you probably saw Mahalia Jackson with him. She was one of his most trusted, like, go-to women. Like he kind of had her as his counsel. So this day in Washington, and you can see her sitting right here beside him, she delivered a wonderful, and you need to Google it. I mean, I'm not going to sing it for you because you all know I can't sing. So she delivered a wonderful, wonderful rendition of this song. And so as she gets up to sing, he delivers his 7-paragraph, 11-minute speech that we've never even heard of. First 11 minutes are not notable. They're not famous. Nobody's ever even heard the first 11 minutes. And Mahalia looks and she's like, this is not legendary. This is not notable. And she realizes that he's getting ready to sit down. And she says, and you need to Google it because it will give you goosebumps. All the news anchors, everybody that was there that day, said that Mahalia says, tell them about the dream, Martin. Tell them. And she is a gospel singer that shouts out to him. She's regulating the temperature that day in front of 250,000 people because he was ready to sit down. He did not do anything awe-inspiring that day. He had his note cards in front of him. He spoke for 11 minutes and was about ready to sit down. And his friend, Mahalia Jackson, said, them about the dream, Martin. Tell them. So I'm inspiring each one of you. You have a purpose. You are thermostats. Tell somebody about your dream. Be a Michaela Jackson. So today, you're telling your peers about your dream. Today, you're a thermostat. So that's my charge to each of you. That was good. Woo! Thank you. There we go. There we go. All right. So I know that's pretty good. So Google her works. If you've never heard that story, that is one of those that will get you some goose pimples going on your arm. Because had she not done that, we would not have heard her start out with I have a dream. She encouraged him. And that's why we're all here together. That's why these grants are so amazing. Is we need people to rally around us and encourage us. I'm so thankful for each of you. All right. All right, y'all ready to start today? All right.
I'm gonna try a microphone. But you, like you said, the acoustics are really good, but I don't want to have to yell. I always use a microphone in my classroom. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my story with you. Before we start, and they all left, I was getting ready to thank all the people, Wendy and Dr. Evans and Jackie and anybody else that's in part of this Renaissance grant. I know that we all appreciate this opportunity. I've taught for many, many years, and this is by far probably the best thing that's happened in my career. So,
We're gonna post you on
okay, you can, I'll write it down on something. I'm gonna try to multitask and make sure that I get everything up. A little bit about me. I know that when we went to Washington, it was kind of strange being with all these people, and we had no idea really who we were. But I'm an elementary music teacher. My name's Cornelius. I'm beginning my 33rd year of teaching this year. I've taught in 2 schools in my career, Livingston Elementary and Mount Vernon, which is my current school. I've taught preschool all the way through 8th grade during my career, and I've had the wonderful blessing to be able to charter a 5th grade honor chorus. I've been a member of KMEA for the entirety of my career, and I'm a worship leader at First Baptist in Mount Vernon. I have a husband and 2 wonderful children. And my husband told me today that I should wear one of the costumes that I'm going to show you in a little bit. And I said, well, I'm just going to wear this shirt. It's a little too much to change. Anyway, I'm here to share with you what's worked for me in my school to help build support for the music program. I'm sure lots of you have wonderful, varying ways to build up and drum support. This is simply what's worked for me. And one of my favorite quotes, which gets me through the month of March especially, I like nonsense. It wakes up the brain cells. And it sure does for me too. I got that sitting next to my desk at school. Some people may think that what we do at Mount Vernon Elementary during March is nonsensical, but we've created lifetime memories doing it. Every year, all over the country, actually, not just in Mount Vernon, but every March, schools across the nation, of course, celebrate music in their schools. And there are many talented educators that do wonderful, wonderful programs to advocate music in their schools. So I'm going to share with you today something that's really worked beautifully for my school, and it could possibly work for you too. So by far, one of the largest and most exciting events at our school is the all-school sing. We have a time where we all come together for one day in March and we sing songs together, but it's really not just that. And I hope you'll forgive me because I take a lot of pictures, and so you're going to see a lot of those in this presentation. Our very first all-school sing was in 1996. And it was the first time that our school kind of came together for a common goal. And I was really blessed and excited that it was because of music. Some things that go along with the all-school sing. We have musical dress-up day that began in 1998. In 1996, we weren't brave enough to do anything 1997, we took a breath. And so in 98, we came back in full force. We have guest musicians that will come and play during lunch on Fridays and all throughout the month. Other musicians would play before or after school. And in 1998, we got really brave and invited the public to come and join us at the All-School Sing. And we had the public in our building on those days from 1998 all the way to 2017. And every year it kind of just began to grow and grow and grow to the point that our principal said, okay, 2018, no parents, no community can come. It was only allowed, we were only allowed students and staff. Because if the fire marshal had walked into our gym, we would have been shut down immediately. And our neighboring, the neighbors around their school got a little aggravated that parents were parking in their yards. That was really bad. They didn't tell me that until they told me no more parents. So you don't know what's happening behind the scenes. You're just in the forefront of that. So we have some fun activities all throughout the month and especially on the day. We have classroom teachers that decorate the hallways or their doors. Sometimes we made it a contest and sometimes later on we just decided let's just do it for fun. Many teachers work on acts with their classrooms that the students can get up and perform at the Sing. And this year was a little different because of COVID, I wasn't able to have my honor chorus. And so every year the Sing, the honor chorus would help lead the songs. Well, this year we decided to have every grade level come down and help lead one of the songs. The songs we sing at the All-School Sing, I teach them intentionally. I call them my spotlight song of the day. And kids don't really understand that that's going to be our All-School Sing songs in March. It's a school-wide event. Most teachers and staff are very supportive. But you have to remember, on a day like this, when everybody's dressed up and kind of loud and excited, it's like one day of a full red ribbon week. And so most teachers are on board, but some get a little aggravated on the day. But later you can see them laughing and having fun at the All-School Sing. Some displays that we have had through the years. These are older pictures from years gone by. We usually pass it on. Usually the displays hit on the theme of the month. And so sometimes students do it, sometimes teachers did it or made it for them. And this year, actually, I have a little laser pointer here too, if it's going to work. I will have to turn it on, I'm sorry. So these are all student created works. This is student created, this is student created, of course. And this year we did these along with the next that you're going to see. And I always love it when students actually have a chance to make the display. These are some of the designs and decorations that we put around the hallway. My wonderful art teacher, Ms. Robin, helped have the kids decorate those, and she helped me hang those up too. So the guest musicians that we add, either to the celebration or even just the month in general, we have plenty of people that come from outside of our school. We've been blessed with great musicians, as you can see. We've had students, former teachers, custodians, assistants, teachers, and even this awesome bagpipe player, Mr. Jack Lewis. He played his bagpipes during the morning drop-off. And so all the buses are driving by. And when I drove, and in full dress uniform too, which was really awesome. As I drove in that morning, I could hear the bagpipes playing. And the kids talk about that all day. It took me years to get him to come, and he finally came. So I was really happy about that. The man you see up here at the top, a very sweet custodian. He just played the violins here.
He's going to be around stuff next year.
Oh.
And I will.
You can use them in your own style, yes.
We're going to.
We had the harpist that you see was my former piano teacher when I was young, and she plays the harp now, so she came. And we had other teachers and sometimes students that would play the piano for the kids during lunch. We have had, as you can see, high school band members, former students, business owners. We have 2 or 3 Mexican restaurants in Mount Vernon now. But we only had one at the time, and so two of their employees came and actually sang in Spanish to the kids. We've had central office staff perform, assistants. It's really been an abundance of talent throughout the year, and I'm positive I'm leaving people out. Okay, which one am I supposed to use? Okay, so hands down, with all of those things that we do to celebrate music in our schools, the very biggest that we have is the all-school sing and musical dress up day. And so here are some pictures of what our students and staff like to do. This picture is Miss Wendy's daughter, and that is my daughter. They're now pretty much teenagers, pretty much. Okay, and here's some other ones. The kids, when I ask them to dress musically, they can do certain things. They can dress as their favorite musician. They can decorate a t-shirt themselves, or if their parents have an old concert t-shirt, then they can wear that as well. Many of these costumes are quite creative, but some of my favorites are the homemade ones that kids will take. A lot of times I'll tell them, you don't have to have a t-shirt. You can just take an old t-shirt and turn it inside out and just take a Sharpie and draw music notes all over it. And a lot of times they do. Let's see. Oh, I gotta point this one out. So this little girl, she actually graduated high school this year. But when she was in 5th grade, the theme was music makes me, and then you could substitute what makes you. And so her mom found her local tattoo artist and took the t-shirt to her building, and she drew that beautiful artwork on there. But my favorite is this one right here. It says, "I love the all-school sing," and she made that herself. So really my favorites are the homemade ones. Oh, and when Miss Wendy was on her staff, I had the pleasure of working with Wendy. She was my daughter's teacher when she was in 5th grade. She was, as you can imagine, was always ready to perform.
Oh, yeah.
But we never asked her to whistle. You can see we've had Dolly Parton. And this picture right here, this little girl was just in the hallway when I was on the hallway, and she said, "Look," and her mom had decorated her fingernails with music notes. Of course, there's Miss Robin, Wendy, and her crew. We have had,
That man in the middle, you just do need to point out that that's
This one?
not, no, top right. That is not a man in the middle.
That's Robin also. She may be in several of these. Okay, so we have had many teacher acts. We've been visited by Sonny and Cher, the Brady Bunch. An episode of The Voice took place on our school, and you name it, and we have done it in our shows. And if you have an idea, the all-school things coming up this March, you can let me know. Some of my favorite pictures from this year, after post-COVID world, we'll take a look and see something special about that in just a minute. But many years we have surprise guests that will come and join our all-school sing. We've had cheerleaders. We sang a song, Jump. And when we started that, all the cheerleaders started tumbling out across the floor. That was really a rush. We've had state champion basketball team that came and visited. And even Miss Kentucky came and sang for our kids. I really love on the all-school sing to incorporate instruments of different types. And so kazoos are really big. I know they're, fabulous instruments that the parents love. But I asked our local banks one year to buy kazoos for our whole school, and they did. So resources are out there if you need some help. We create visual experiences with songs by having staff and students act out the parts. We sang the song, some of you might know, "Somebody Stole My Cow." So we had the teachers dress up as cows. We've had handbell groups and dulcimer groups, and even a student-led band came to perform. So let's see on. There's a few extras. I'm going to skip over those kind of quickly because you'll get to see that for real in just a minute. So I've enjoyed dressing as many famous musicians over the years, and I found out very quickly in my career if I go all out, then I was able to create some pretty amazing memories for my students. So when it came to musical dress up day, if I wanted the kids to dress up musical, I had to do it as well. So, let's see. The very first gospel thing that we did, I dressed up as my most favorite composer, Mozart. And then you'll notice there's a gap from 98 to 2000. I had my first child in 1999, and I took that semester off, so I was happy to do that. And I was Dorothy in 2000, 2001, Baby Brain, just wore my music jacket. In Annie, I was 2002. I actually tried to sing Tomorrow. I don't think it was very good. On 2003, I was Sandy from Grease. My husband, who is actually pictured right there, he was Danny that year. We did a little act. My music jacket came back with a music tie. And then in 2006, I was June Carter Cash because Walk the Line came out that year. And so we pantomimed to Jackson because my husband doesn't really sing. I was a Cheetah Girl. I've been Miley Cyrus and Taylor Swift and Carrie Underwood. Those are my feeble attempts at being them. Katy Perry was a really fun one in 2012. And then Nicki Minaj in 2013. Some of these I'm a little embarrassed to say. But Nicki Minaj was not a really great judge on American Idol that year, but she was. Demi Lovato, of course, Elsa was the biggest hit in 2015. Adele in 2016. I had some fifth graders that were crazy about Adele. And I always try to keep my costume top secret until today. And so some of those fifth graders, Bailey Bullock, you might mention, or I might remember, was always like, Adele? And I'm like, Gwen Stefani in 2017, and then of course The Greatest Showman came out, which I saw 4 times in the theater. And one time I saw it with Sandy, and she sang the whole time, and we were it was fun. I knew I had to dress up as The Greatest Showman, and Robin was the bearded lady that year for me. Mary Poppins in 2019, and of course the dreaded, awful COVID years. In March of 2020, that's when we were getting ready, gearing up, and then we shut down. And then in 2001, we could not have big crowds and groups together. So I didn't get to do that in 2001. So this year in 2002, it was really, really a big moment that we could all come together. Many of the kids hadn't even experienced an all-school singing. The younger kids hadn't, as you guys know, they missed out on a lot. So this year, thanks to Robin, she said, why don't you dress up as Mirabelle? And so that's what I did. And my wonderful Arts Clock family up here, they dressed with me. And so we had a great time this past year. So some things I've learned from dressing up. Number one, it's always good to have a kid-friendly character. But you don't have to say, I'm Gwen Stefani. I'm Gwen Stefani. I never had to do that with Elsa and Mirabelle. Number two, you must have comfortable shoes. What I'm wearing today is probably what I would wear when I teach. And so if I also sing, my costume is based a lot on what kind of shoes am I going to have to wear with it. It's a long day. A lot of times I average well over 20,000 steps on the all-school sing. And number three, if you're going to do something like this, you've got to do it big. There's no going halfway. Let me tell you, when I was in that blue Katy Perry wig, I was driving to school, and all of a sudden on the radio, my daughter's in there, and my son may have been in the back seat too. I'm driving, and girls just want to have fun is on the radio. Well, that wasn't it. There's a school bus right in front of me, and they're all going. You have to really just kind of adopt that mindset. And it's always good to have the support of just a core group of teachers that will jump on the bandwagon, because once they do, the others will, and the others will. In 1998, when I came to school as Mozart, most people thought I was crazy. And you have to leave your pride at the door when you step out of your car and walk in. So I have to really think about that when I dress and go kind of crazy on those days. So I hope you'll give me just a few minutes to share with you some of my most favorite memories of this year's all-school singing. I'm not gonna say a whole lot about it, I'm just gonna let you watch it, and then I'll kind of close up my time in just a minute. All right. Yep.
Yeah.
You'll notice some of the fourth graders are like shell shocked. I don't know what to see, they're all in front of us. Those boys thought I was crazy, but they did it anyway. And we just want to pay a tribute to him today. And so I hope you will enjoy this collection of songs that may spark your interest just a little bit. Out of all the acts, this is my favorite we've ever done. This is the second time doing it too, that's why it's my favorite. There's
So he just whips around a little bit more. There you go.
That was really, it was really a wonderful, wonderful time. I know I've shared a lot of information with you, and thank you for listening to something that is really, really special to me. So, and I'm only touching the surface of what goes on in a day like this. Any questions about anything that I brought up? When you plan something like this, you all know it doesn't just happen in a week. The day after the all-school sing, I start thinking about the next year. And so even this morning, I started thinking, oh, there's 2 people that I need to ask to come and perform next year. So if you have any questions later on, you can feel free to ask me. You probably know everything that you need to know. I'm just happy to be able to share this. And it's always important, as you know, to gain support for your program, whether you're an art teacher, whatever you're doing, because it makes it that much harder for them to cut your program. That's my main goal for this. Thank you all so much.
We do have one question. Greta loves, she loves what she was able to see. She said it's amazing. She said she loved the ideas, but what were some of the songs that you were able, do you have just like a little, some of the songs that you were doing?
That we did with the whole school. So the songs I used for that come from the Music K8 magazine. Some of you might know that magazine. I've gotten it since 1999. It's just a wealth of songs, and a lot of times I try to teach fun songs upbeat just to get my kids to love music. I don't expect them to be rock stars when they grow up, but I really hope they can sing a lullaby to their kids. So I try to get that love for music at an early age. And you heard Take Me Out to the Ball Game. We've done that one a few years in the past. Let's see, Old Ann Tucker. We do some folk songs. Somebody Stole My Cow. I don't know why I'm having such a mental block of what songs we've done, but there's this Music K8 is a resource that I use for that.
Shady Grove.
Shady Grove.
That's like the.
Shady Grove, yeah. It's all good. It's all right. That's a great one too.
And Greta, I will say that as a former classroom teacher, Jamie would always put together a nice little CD for us, and we could practice, or play it. Like I would play it while my kids were working in the classroom, which was wonderful.
And of course, now that we have Chromebooks, and I think I just turned my microphone. Now that we have Chromebooks, I'm able to just put that in there with Google Classrooms, and they can even practice them at home.
So that tells you how long I've been out of the classroom. You can put it on the what was the big?
On the cassette tape.
No, what was the big? day to be and wonderful. And next we have Miss Kristy Salley. Markers and scissors. Go.
And I am a nervous wreck standing up here because I do this in front of my kids all day long, but I apologize. So am I okay when I am? Can y'all hear me okay?
Can everyone hear her online?
Can you guys hear me okay? Thank you. I don't have any nice presentations set up. That's just not my thing. I do it when I have to, but I find that it just takes away from what I do. So my name is Kristy Salley. I have been teaching middle school art for going on 15 years now. I have a master's in special education, so I taught at Shopville Elementary for 4 years before coming into this position. I have changed my program so many times over the years. Started out with just your basic, everybody kind of did the same thing. And the lesson I'm doing has nothing to do with this, but I started researching TAB, teaching artistic behavior several years ago, and fell in love with it, but still was scared to death to get into it. So I am fully embracing that to its fullest extent this year because COVID messed me up with everything. But in the meantime, SEL became one of those big key things, those terminology things that you see come and go. I don't see SEL going anywhere. I see it staying, especially with what we've been through in the past few years. And another thing I fell in love with. I struggle as a teacher finding time to get that in degrees like this, but there's little things that I think you all learn too that we can do weekly, daily. That's just a quick check-in to kind of see where your kids are at. And when you see that those kids' morale and everything is just kind of lowering, that's when I have to jump in and go, okay, I need something bigger. This is a small assignment or activity, but it is bigger and you can adapt it, you can change it however you need for your grade level. And I'm going to keep it very generic because when I found this out was in the middle of COVID. I participated in the, trying to think of the program. It was a winter conference for Arts of Ed, I'm pretty sure. Huge week, I think I stayed at school for 3 days because it was a strange time and it was in the middle of winter and COVID. I just literally camped out at school for 3 days to do this conference because it was all virtual. But I cried through the entire thing because it was just so good. And it was just nice to connect to people even though it was through virtual. So without further ado, this is called Circle of Control. So if you're at home, if you want to participate, you're welcome to. We start out with just a square piece of paper, and I handed those out to everyone. You can do that square smaller. I think that one's a 6 by 6, but I do recommend a square. And then we're going to actually be coloring and then cutting and then using 2 different pieces. So all I want you to do right now is on your square, we're going to take all those colored markers, and I just want you to fill that square with expressive lines. And those expressive lines can be curly, jagged, straight, whatever you feel, and try to adapt and see if you use colors that are going with that mood. So at this time, go ahead and grab some markers and fill that entire square all the way across from edge to edge. It doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong. Just fill it with expressive lines.
Oh, what?
I'll give you guys a few more minutes to kind of get that going. You can kind of set a timer depending on, what grade level you have, but this is not one of those activities that they have to draw anything specific. It's just to be more expressive. And if you prefer a type of music, you can play that. However, if you play a type of music, that may adjust and change their mood pretty immediately. That may change that, so you may not get results that you're looking for. So it's cautious. Be cautious. Music's a great thing. I love playing it, but when you're trying to get emotions out, people alter those when you play. And I love walking around and seeing what other people are doing. Some of them are very methodical. Some of you are like, let's just do this, which is what I do. So I'm like, why? That's my typical mood is that. I'm pretty explosive most days. I'm very high strung. And my kids know that. Your brain again is far away. Nothing really connects. Yeah.
Personality is.
There you go. You can turn it into one. I know it's not so bad. I mean, I have one. I walk in with it put together. I like the way. Like whatever I can find.
And sometimes we just pray with the strings going.
My clothes match my mix.
Well.
Sometimes I have together.
Yeah.
Or who's coming.
Yeah.
So that's a great decision.
We need to set tangle chain.
That is so pretty.
Yeah.
Robin will spend days on this one. Yeah. We're good. You are so interesting right there. Robin will be on this for days, so we're just gonna move on without her. That's her.
I literally took lines as
Literally, yes.
I have no creativity in my phone.
For those of you who aren't very artsy and struggle maybe with the definition of line, they could be all kinds of craziness. They don't have to be connected. They don't have to make anything. They could make a shape. They could be any close. Whatever you want them to be. I mean, it's okay.
I'm gonna copy the work of others.
But I'm sure you'll mind if
Thank you for being honest.
I knew it, Robin. It's fine. There's no mess up, I promise.
Oh,
No,
no,
I won't
wait.
answer.
Wait.
Oh, that's what kids would tell you too. You can encourage them to maybe, see if they can make what they call an anxious line or calm line, stressful line. So you can encourage them to put those different types of lines in there versus just going for it. And I don't throw that in when people I answer on the different. And then I'm like, well, that's very funny.
So there you go.
Or later on, like, that is pretty early night, it's the same time there.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay. The next step, when you guys are working with your kids, make sure that you know that the next step, you do not want to, hopefully you don't want to cut into your paper. However, if they do cut a piece of paper in an area, we can take that back. So what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to be cutting a circle out of here. So I like to just take my paper and I take my design and I fold it inward. I would normally say hamburger, but it's a square, so it really doesn't matter if it's hamburger or hot dog. I'd say tacos and burritos, but anyway. So just fold it in half, and you can trace or draw a half a sphere here. If you have something round that you want to lay on there and trace half of it, we're just going to cut a circle. I'm not going to trace or draw anything. I'm just going to cut a circle. A solid circle, and it won't look exactly like a circle if you do it this way. So then you're left with these two things. Your circle, which is more of an oval for me, and your frame. Oh, no. Did you do it wrong? It's okay, we'll take it back together.
I did really.
Oh, you cut it in scissors off, okay. Yeah, you have to have the correct, well, it doesn't matter, you do have to have the two pieces. I'll take one.
There's that if you were to wear it.
Again, it is imperative that you have these two. So if you have kids who want to cut into the square and then they cut a circle out, that's fine. Just make sure you take that frame back together. Get your components. Okay. I'm gonna borrow Andrea's from there. Andrea's is smaller, and when I did it, it's exactly what I got the first time. So it's totally up to you. It doesn't matter. If you want to go home and redo this to your liking, you can. I think so. I think
Not a fair.
You don't have to, but you can just cut that in half. You'll just cut one of those. You'll have a circle in front. I would just cut from here and then take that together. Yeah, you can have a baby and then just take that back together. So my musical video over here.
They just want to go.
I All right, so while you guys are finishing up or saving the day or being creative on getting that one circle in one frame, this circle represents what you can control. That circle is what you can control. Your frame is what you cannot control. Okay. So in just a moment, we're going to walk through, I'm going to just do some base questions. Again, these questions can be adapted to your setting, your age group, what's going on. If a specific event has happened, you can adjust all these things. And I suggest that you start very vague and build up to the complexity of your questions, because that gets them kind of used to answering those types of questions. All right. So even though this seems to be scrapped for some of you guys, keep in mind, these are things you can't control. All right, you can't control it. This is my inner circle. This is what's here, what I know I can control. So your control may be filled with knots, marks, scribbles, splotches of color, but those represent your feelings. Okay. So we're going to, it says on here for you to practice listing and discussing things you can control within your circle and identifying things you cannot control. I don't do that with my kids because it kind of overlaps into my questions. I like to go into the questions and start making my kids think. So the first one, and this is going to change too. The first one is I can control the weather. So you would hold up your frame. So you would tell the kids, these are your yes and no's kind of. So things you can control, you hold up your circle. Things you cannot control, you hold up your frame. And it gives you a really good visual as to where their frames are going. Okay. So again, first generic question, I can control the weather. Absolutely not. I wish I could. Okay. This next one they gave, I don't like doing it because it's pretty, it can go either way. I can control what I say. most kids are gonna say this. So we have kids we know that are here. And so that gives me a good discussion and open discussion of, we have students with Tourette's, we have students with disabilities, we have students who have situations at home, or are, you know, they have anger issues, so that teaches them to start looking at realizing that's why. I can control my skin color.
Well.
Technically, yes, however, some of us go here, right? We got to see a lot. I can control my breathing. Most people say no, but some people, if you have asthma, okay, sounds crazy, but you gotta start thinking of all these little things. I can control my work ethic. Situation. Exactly. Depends on who's around you. I can control what I create. I can control what I wear. I have kids too. I have kids too. It depends on their family, on what their beliefs are. They'll have to put this up. And so that again gives us the opportunity to talk about different backgrounds, different religious beliefs, and or just resources that the kids have. Not every kid has that closet full of clothes that you know, it's literally what's on the floor, clean or dirty, or they pray it's clean, you know what I mean? So that helps open that up. I can control who's in my family. I can control who's in my family. As a kid, you cannot control that. You can't control who your parents are married to or get divorced to, or what extra kids or siblings come back in, or in and out, or who you adopt, or where you can't control that as a kid. And I tell them, as you get older, you can control who you marry, who you decide to be a partner with. I know, so I really have to watch the whole traditional marriage thing. I just have to keep it vague. I can control other people's actions. As much as we want to, we cannot. It's just out of our hands. Absolutely. I can control who my friends are. This is another one that gives me both of these. You've got kids who are forced to play with other kids because they go to church with them, or their parents are asking you to do certain things because they see in that kid. I've done that to my kid. Like, hey, can you be nice to them? They really don't have any money. You say hi to them. Or I've got certain kids in the class, and I'm like, hey, go do this. And they'll do it. And they actually end up becoming great friends later, but they don't want to. This one came up just because of the time. I can control the coronavirus. Why would I put both of those up? Mask. There you go. And that opened up a great opportunity for me to discuss why we wore masks, why we washed our hands, why we were keeping distance, why we were sanitizing, why we were doing all these things, because I can control what I can do. I can do my part to help eliminate that or reduce that. But as a whole, yes, I can't control it, but I can do my part in it. Because I had so many kids in a rural area who are like, yes. Doesn't matter. You gotta look at other people. You have to think about them. You gotta care about
Kids who
them.
wear a mask because they're sick.
Exactly. Exactly.
Can't control and can't control their family makes different choices.
Exactly. So I love this activity because it really opens up the fact that it's not a yes or no. It's not a black and white. Sometimes there's that gray area, and you have to discuss that again. And it depends on your grade level. Elementary, of course, you're going to have to keep that really low key. Middle school, you can really start throwing in some stuff. High school, you can really dig in some deep areas with those kids. So I hope you can see. Oh, I love this one. I can control what I Depends on the day. But I have kids who will do this because they don't have the food. You know what I mean? So gotta be really careful with those. But again, I like it. It brings light to some things and it makes those kids start looking and going, I see a pattern in some of these answers that my kids are giving. It gives you an inside view from maybe what their thinking is. But again, you can take these questions and really push them. This hit me so hard. I taped them to my computer screen for an entire year. Because for when I was getting overwhelmed, I had to stop and go, what can I control? What can I not? And then I even started, I turned them over and started writing down things on the backs of them that were really like red thread moments, eye-opening things that I was like, oh, that is one that I had to really face. I really had to push that home because I can't control. I can't control what my other teachers do in the building, but I can control how I react to that. I can control how I'm responding to that. So you can do this with your faculty. I'm going to do this with my faculty. I've not shared that with them all yet, just because they all get mad when they say, like, what is it? Yes, I am. Sorry. I geek out on this stuff. I really do, because I see what it's done to me and how it affects me. So anyway, I think that's pretty much it. If you don't know a lot about SEL, I think it's called CASTLE is the website. It gives you the 5 categories for SEL. Super easy. There's lesson plans on there. This did not come from there. It did come from Art of Ed. And I've got the lesson plan. I can shoot it to you, but it's super simple. It's a no-brainer. And again, you can do this several times. So if you, I don't have kids all year. I have kids every 9 weeks. So I can do this 4 times. But if you have children all throughout the year, I mean, you could easily touch them so many times a year and kind of just see how some things have changed. Any questions? Yeah, you can laminate. Absolutely. Great job.
Not playing that, but man, that works with the thermostat.
No,
I mean, that could not have taken me, like, here's my next time, make any more perfect. I mean, that was.
when I was up there on that.
I mean, that, and I promise, we did not plan that. I promise we did, but that was perfect. And I love what Kristy said about putting that up there on her computer all year long, because that's a great reminder to not just, you know, our students, but to ourselves, because there are things that are outside our circle of control. And we just have to be reminders of that, but we also have to be cognizant and aware that we can be that thermostat. There are things that are outside of our control, but our attitudes and the way that we react to things that are outside of our control, you know, that's why, I mean, I'm a firm believer, that's why you are leaders in this grant, is you are going to regulate the school culture in your buildings. And right now, some of you are thinking, well, I'm just a music teacher, or I'm just an art teacher. Listen, you are esteemed as a leader in your building. And Mr. Huber can tell you that, is that true? I mean, there is a reason you are in this grant. And it is because you are right now, you're positioning yourself as a leader in your building for such a time as this. Sorry, Bible school week. But anyway, sorry. So those of you that are with us via Zoom, I want to let you know what is getting ready to happen. I will email out a new copy of our schedule. But right now, we're supposed to be going to peer-to-peer breakout sessions, and you all have those links. You will choose your link via virtual Zoom link at 10:20. We're a little ahead of schedule. This never happens. This is a good thing. That means I didn't talk too long this morning. But at 10:15, we should be ready to open those Zoom links. So if you all are good with about 10:15, that way it gives us enough time to get our locations ready in the room, give you all time to potty, give you time to go and listen to me potty. I am totally sorry, I'm giving kindergartners and BBS. It's like, for your restroom breaks, we'll go get some coffee. You all do the same. If you're joining us, go get you a refill on coffee, go potty, do all those great things, and then come back at 10:15 and we will be ready to rock and roll. Our presenters, here's the way this will work in the room. We will have one breakout session at the front of the room. So that will be Becky's group at the front. We'll have Allison's group, middle area. So Allison, you'll be, here, this, like right here in this, in this area. And then our back group, Ingrid will be back at the back table, okay? And then Allison, what I'll do is on your link, I'll make sure you have screen sharing capabilities and we will be ready to go with you, okay?
And they need to record.
And yeah, and we'll record, well,
We're gonna be recording, but if you give them the host, they'll have to record on their end.
We have digital access to present,
yes.
okay, even if you're on the back.
Even if, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, we'll have a computer ready back
Okay,
there.
all right.
Yep.
Thank you.
So, all right, we'll take a little break and we'll be ready to rock and roll. That's the way to